What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. White man says Jesus never existed and he's going to prove it. All right? And it's pretty easily provable that he never existed. At least the character that is presented in these books and these posters that's placed in people's houses, these pictures of the former Pope's son, who was a mass murderer, genociding, crazy lunatic maniac. So people have really been worshiping a crazy lunatic maniac that also suffered from affluenza, kind of like Trump, but back in ancient days, right? And how Jesus Christ, the character of Jesus Christ, is just an allegory for other characters, other events, and how you're supposed to live your life, how you're supposed to view things. The Bible was never meant to be taken literal. It's a book of allegories. It's many different books combined together that contradict each other. The book contradicts each other. And the thing is, the only reason people are Christian is because they're born into Christian societies. That's the truth. That's the only reason. Just like the only reason people are Muslim is because they're born in Islamic societies, right? No one chooses the religion that they, practice. They're born into it. They didn't make the decision for themselves to, hey, out of all these choices of spiritual systems, out of all these choices of man-made religions, this is the one that resonates with me. This is the one I'm going to choose, right? That's not how it works. The way it works is you grew up in a society that was already infused with one or the other religion, and you grew up believing it because you had no choice. You didn't choose to have this faith that you say you have. But none of you Christians that say you have faith and you believe in Jesus Christ will step into an Olympic-sized pool and dare say you can walk across that water. None of y'all can go to the beach and say you can walk across that water, even though in that book that you say you believe, it says that if you truly believe, you can walk on water, right? The sun walking on water. When in reality, it was really just an actual sun, right? Sun rays bouncing off the surface of the water. That's what it meant. But people took it literally, like some guy walking on water because his faith made him so light and buoyant that he can do that, which is clearly impossible, in reality, right? And so, the reality is there's more books on the planet than the Bible, and there are older books on the planet than the Bible, right? That also has philosophy, ways to live your life, heroic characters that sacrifice themselves, for a greater good. So, just like any other mythology, Christianity is a mythology. Jesus Christ is about as real as Hercules. He's about as real as Samson. He's about as real as Zeus. All right, that's how real he is. All right, he's only real in our imaginations. But let this white guy explain it more. And I know it's hard for people to let go of it, right? Especially black people who are very spiritual anyway. And you kind of need a spiritual anchor. And it's hard for black people to let go of it, but it doesn't belong to us. We have our own spiritual anchor that we can attach ourselves to that does belong to us. That's rooted in reality, rooted in science, rooted in history, rooted in your ancestors, grounded on solid, foundational, earthly ground. That belongs to us. That makes more sense, rather than this fictitious man-made religion forced upon us by our enslavers. Anyway, you telling me what you think in the comment section. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn some, teach something. I'm out.
This never existed. Do you want to know how I know? Good, because I'm going to tell you. And as soon as I explain it, you're going to be like, oh my God, Ben, your head is doing so much more than just growing a good beard and holding up snazzy glasses. When we talk about Jesus, we're actually talking about two distinct people. The first one would be Yeshua bar Yosef, who, if he existed, would have been a peasant in first century Judea who became an itinerant wandering preacher and collected something of a following. The other person we're talking about is the fictional fairy tale character Jesus Christ, who definitely 100% did not exist. Now, I can already hear you asking, Ben, have you prepared some sort of a visual aid to illustrate what you're talking about? And as a matter of fact, I have. See, this is why I like you. You're so smart. This is Yeshua bar Yosef. He is a peasant from first century Judea who became an itinerant preacher. This is Jesus Christ. He may very well be the first instance of the modern superhero. He has all sorts of magical powers. He can turn water into booze. He can fly. He can walk on water. He can bring other people back to life. He can heal injuries, and he can even resurrect himself from the dead. Now, I thought that I had made a point in previous videos and in the comments section of making a distinction between Jesus and Yeshua, but apparently there's a couple people out there that are just not picking up what I'm putting down. So, Jesus is a magical, mystical fairy tale character with superpowers. He never existed. Yeshua was potentially a historical person upon whom the stories of Jesus were possibly based. But we don't know anything about Yeshua, if he even existed, except that he might have been crucified, which is pretty plausible for the era. But outside of that, we don't know what he taught. We don't know what he did. The stories about Jesus are not meant to represent that real person, if he in fact actually existed. They were created to push a dogma, an ideology. The Yeshua of history, again, if he ever existed, is completely lost to us. He was stolen from his time and place and from his loved ones and turned into the figurehead of a new religion. If that's not the saddest thing that anybody can imagine, I don't know what is. So that about sums it up. Yeshua may be real. Jesus, definitely not real. Any questions? Jesus.
This ethical question is very difficult for believers to answer, and we recently saw it stump Cliff Knechtley when he was talking with Alex O'Connor. And Cliff's answer to this was called the most public embarrassment that they've seen in a debate for a long time, and he's receiving a lot of public backlash over it. The question goes like this. You are a believing Christian today, but tomorrow you wake up and you find yourself in ancient Canaan. And you're a Canaanite, you have a wife, you have children, you have a family, and you know, because you know Deuteronomy 20, that the Israelites are going to come and they're about to wipe you out under God's command. Not just you, but the women and children as well. The question is, do you fight against Israel? The reason this is so difficult is when believing Christians read the scriptures, they read themselves as the Israelites, the chosen people, the ones enacting divine violence, the ones enacting divine justice even. They see themselves as the main character. And this question forces you to answer and it forces you to have some empathy. What if you were on the other side of it? And it's really difficult to answer because either you have to say, I'm just gonna, sit there in the corner while someone slaughters my children, or you have to say, I'm gonna fight against what God would want. And that's very difficult for a believer to have to wrestle with. And when Cliff wrestled with it, it was just ugly to watch. Eventually, with Alex kind of pushing him, he did finally say that if God is God, he has the authority to take the life that he chooses, and he would essentially let the slaughter happen. But at the beginning, he said that he would fight. So he actually flipped in his answer. And the problem, of course, is that this justifies any kind of violence if you believe that God is on your side. So Alex pushes back and says, what if we apply this to modern times? And what if ISIS says that they know that their God commanded to destroy whatever? Should we accept that? And then again, he just really struggled with this question. And usually what happens with apologists is they'll get backed into one of two corners. Either they'll end up defending genocide, which is just icky to even do, but they'll do that in order to preserve biblical inerrancy. Or they will admit that sometimes we do things in the name of God and we were wrong, or we misinterpreted what God was wanting us to do. And if you play that move, then you kind of weaken the idea of divine perfection or biblical authority, because then how do we know when someone was really talking to God in the Bible and someone wasn't? And then you just kind of lose it as the moral authority that you want it to be. And in this debate, Cliff ended up in the first camp where he ended up defending genocide, and you just see thousands of comments saying, this is why I left the church, or this was the worst thing I've ever seen, or the lack of empathy here is just so striking. And it really rubbed people the wrong way because he ended up having to defend genocide and admitting to letting his children be slaughtered. So this is a really fun question to ask at family dinners if you want everyone to not like you.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.